Alright, so in this video, we're going to be talking about the greatest playoff games in Wilt Chamberlain's career. Now, this is probably going to be my last Wilt video for a while, but somebody had given me this idea a couple days ago, and I thought it was great. I thought it was genius, so I decided to make this video. Now, that being said, make sure you like and subscribe because I'm at 615 subs now, which is hard to believe. I was at 500 a month ago. Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you for the support. So if you guys could like and subscribe, share this video, leave a comment down below. Everything helps me, by the way. Thank you very much. Now, that being said, let's just hop in. And so I want to point out something, and I'm going to be honest with y'all. There's a lot of games that Wilt played that are great in the playoffs, but I wanted to pick specific games, and I wanted to do more games that are not as famous. But obviously, I'm going to share the famous games as well. But starting off in 1960, in his first playoff series ever, in Game 3, Wilt Chamberlain scored, I kid you not when I tell you this, 53 points. I don't know if you guys could see that. Let me zoom in. I think that should be close enough. Yeah, I feel like that's probably big enough. Let me check. Maybe a little more. Yeah, 53 points and had 22 rebounds and 2 assists while shooting 57% from the floor. And yeah, he shot horrible from the free throw line. But the 53 points was necessary to beat this team with Dolph Chase, who, by the way, is very underrated. Hal Greer, incredibly underrated as well. So I'm just going to say, for a rookie to do that in his third game in the playoffs, to get 53 points, I think that says a lot. And so that's one game that I want to show, the first game. The second one was actually in the same year, in 1960, versus Bill Russell and the Boston Celtics in I believe this was game 5. Yeah, game 5 of the first time they ever played in the playoffs. Wilt Chamberlain scored 50 points and 35 rebounds on 52% from the floor in a 128-107 win against Bill Russell. Now, Bill had a good game himself, 22 points, 27 rebounds, but Wilt was definitely the star of the show. Now, why was this important? Well, and I'll give you the backstory of it, but the Boston Celtics were up 3-1. So the Boston Celtics won game 1, the Warriors won game 2, Boston 3, Boston 4. Wilt had that game and ended up winning game 5. Now, the backstory to this is actually game 6. In game 6, Wilt also had a great game, and I'll show it to you guys as well. But Wilt played, and he got 26 and 24 on 44%. It's a great game for everybody's standards. And this video is not the best game, obviously. But one of the problems with this game was Guy Rodgers, who played so great, at the end of the game missed 2 free throws in a row. Now, why am I saying this? Well, Wilt was on fire from game 5. If he would have won game 6, he might have been the first player to ever come back from down 3-1, which is something that I find so interesting. Now, the reason I think it's an interesting story, which is why I mentioned it. Now, let's just skip this part. I might make a video about this because, to be honest with you, that story of that game 6 is incredible. It's insane, right? But skipping that, let's go back down to 1964 against the St. Louis Hawks in game 5 as well, which is kind of weird that he had a lot of great game 5s. But Wilt Chamberlain playing against Bob Pettit, who was extremely underrated, and Zell Mobidi, a Hall of Fame center, which most people don't know, who had a rough game against Wilt that day. Wow, 5 points, 8 rebounds. He really struggled. Wilt Chamberlain was able to drop 50 points and 15 rebounds and 6 assists on 68% from the floor. Now, 68% from the floor in 1964 is the equivalent of someone shooting like 80% today. Like, that never happened. That never happened. Not 68% from the floor, especially not with 32 shots in the game. Even today, that doesn't happen. I don't think when was the last time a player shot over 60%? Taking 30 shots in a game? Yeah, it's been a while, or it happens once a year, maybe. And this is in today's NBA. So, again, this was one of the greatest games he ever played. Game 6 and 7 could have been here as well. Because in game 7, it wasn't as good as game 5, but in game 7, Wilt had 39 and 30 rebounds. Now, he shot poorly from the free throw line, but 19 of 29 from the floor, 65%. In a pivotal game to be able to make it to the NBA Finals. As a matter of fact, I'm going to include it for this video because I don't know why I forgot about this game. And the craziest thing about this game, this one's on footage. So if you want to watch the footage, I'll just look it up. Actually, some of the games included in this video are in this video, Wilt Chamberlain top 10 games on film, 4K highlights, which is amazing, incredible. One of the greatest videos I've ever seen in my life. Now, skipping 1964, going back now to 1965. Now, this one is interesting because I can't pick a specific game, but his playoff run that year was insane. Obviously, starting off with the triple 30 point, 15 rebound, 10 assists, triple double against the Cincinnati Royals. Yeah, okay, I was just making sure against Oscar Robertson and Cincinnati Royals. But 38 and 26, which is ridiculous. But against the Boston Celtics, he legit averaged 30 points and 30 rebounds. 33, 31, 30, 39, 24, 37, 34, 34, which is crazy. That's a great stat line. 30, 21, 30, 26, 30, 20, 32. I think he ended up averaging 29.9 rebounds per game for the series and 30 points per game, which is one of the craziest numbers, stat lines I've ever seen. But if I had to pick a specific game, it's obviously game 2, where he shot 12 for 19 from the floor, 6 of 9 from the free throw line, had 39 rebounds, which was at the time, I think, the record. I think that was the record at the time, and then he ended up breaking it. Like, I think in 2 years he broke it. I believe that was the record at the time, though. 8 assists and 30 rebounds and 30 points. Almost a near triple-double. If I were to look up the blocks, which I haven't been able to find another document with the block stats, I think the one that I used to use got deleted from the internet. So if you guys know any other website or log that has those block stats, put it in the link or put it in the description, or not the description, put it in the comment section, because I've been looking for it. But I believe some of these games are on that, so he might have had a quadruple or a triple double in some of these games. He probably did. I mean, it's Wilt. He probably had over 10 blocks at least once in all these games, which is pretty amazing. But skipping that game, going down to 1967. Wait, I think it's this game. Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, it's this game versus the Cincinnati Royals in Game 2. Wilt Chamberlain had 37 points, 27 rebounds, and 11 assists on 66% from the floor against Oscar Robertson, who had 29, 6, and 9, which is a great game, by the way, and 11 from the free throw line. But this game right here, this was Game 2 of the 1967 NBA playoffs. Now, Wilt dominated this game, obviously, and I think it was because he wasn't scoring as much that year. He was more focused on playmaking. So him getting 37 that game must have been demoralizing. It must have really broke the Cincinnati Royals, who had beat them in Game 1, and then Philadelphia beat them 3 in a row. So I think that says a lot. That's one of the greatest games, but it wasn't the best game of that year. In my opinion, Game 5 of 1967 Eastern Division Finals versus the Boston Celtics, Wilt Chamberlain had 29 points, 36 rebounds, 13 assists, and by all accounts, 10 blocks on 62%, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? And he played great defense against Bill Russell, who wasn't a scorer primarily, so it was it's not much, but 4 points, 7 assists, and 21 rebounds for Bill Russell. I think Wilt clearly dominated that game. Now, speaking of games, I should have shown this one. I forgot to show it. I believe it is Game 2. No, it's not Game 2. I think maybe Game 3. Is it Game 3? Wait. Yeah, Game 3 is also on this list. 20 points, 9 assists, 41 rebounds. NBA record, 41 rebounds in the playoffs. The most rebounds ever in a playoff game against none other than the legendary Bill Russell, who had 29 in that game as well, which is insane. And yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to point out. Another thing I want to point out is, just came to mind. It's kind of funny that Wilt has both records of the most rebounds in a game, both in the regular season and in the playoffs, and both of the times he did that was against Bill Russell, which is, I think, hilarious. In this game, he had 68 rebounds. They had 66. The game he had 55 rebounds. This is a fun fact. The Boston Celtics had 59 rebounds, which is kind of insane that Wilt almost out-rebounded a Bill Russell-led team by himself. Just want to point that out. Now, skipping 1967, we're going straight to 1970 for the NBA Finals Game 6. Obviously, the famous game of 45 points, 27 rebounds, 3 assists on 74%. One thing about Wilt that I noticed, as he got older, he would have these games where he would shoot 75% or 78% or 80% and get 50. And there were always games where he would have problems with the media, where they were calling him washed or they were saying he couldn't score, so he would go out of his way to show them. Which makes me think that if he wanted to keep scoring in 1967, 1968, 1970, 1969 as well, or maybe even 71, although that year, dealing with the injuries, maybe not that year specifically, or after that, But I think Wilt could have easily led the league in scoring all the way to at least 1969 or into 1970 when he got hurt on insane efficiency. I think he honestly got better at scoring as he got older, but because he changed his game, he didn't score as much, which is something that's a big mistake by him. In my opinion, I know his close friend Sonny Hill also told him the same thing, that he should have never changed his game, that he should have always been a scorer. I agree with that. I tend to agree because if I'm correct, right, Wilt would have probably averaged 35 points per game in 1967, 68, 69 on 60%, which would have, I mean, in my opinion, that would have elevated him more than leading the league in assists. Because if he was doing that, he would have still averaged 5 assists a game. He was at that point where no matter, I mean, it didn't matter how he played, he was always going to get 5 assists, it seemed like, right? So that's just a little off topic, but just something that I've observed from looking at his stats and looking at his games, just that. Now, 1960-72, this game I'm including it. In terms of the stat sheet, this is one of the most important games of Wilt's career. They won 104-100 against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, this game was really to win it all because if the Bucks won this game, they probably win game 7. Which, funny enough, they were tied 2-2 up into game 4, and then the Lakers won in game 5. So that's kind of interesting that, they were trading games, and then the Lakers won back-to-back. But Wilt had 20 points, 24 rebounds, 2 assists. Now, stat-wise, doesn't seem the greatest. But the story behind this game is insane, right? There's a story that Wilt was on the bench, and he was talking to his teammates, and he was telling them that when he came into the league, he was always the best center, right? And it was about Wilt versus Bill Russell. And Bill Russell won because he had the better team. And he said, now today as we speak, Kareem is the best center, right? But we have the better team. And then he proceeded to go into the fourth quarter and completely outplay Kareem in the fourth, right? I believe he scored 10 points in the fourth when they were down 10 going into it and led the team back and held Kareem scoreless pretty much the whole fourth and blocked, I think, 5 shots of Kareem's. I think I've heard he blocked 5 skyhooks. I don't know exactly if it was skyhooks. Now, the sad thing is this game is on footage, but the whole game is not available, even though it should be. I think the NBA has it in its archives, but they will never release it because, well, they don't care about NBA history. Now, Kareem also played great, 37, 25, and 8. Insane. Yeah, 43% from the floor for Kareem is not the greatest, but, I mean, that's still a great game. And I think he did have a bunch of turnovers as well. I think he had, like, over 8 or something like that. But Wilt definitely played great, had a bunch of blocks and a bunch of steals as well. So this is one of the greatest games of his career because of the story more than anything. Because the raw stats, especially when you exclude the blocks, don't look as good. Now, if you include the blocks, which I think he had like 6 or 7 in that game, the game obviously it looks a lot better on the stat sheet. Now, going to the NBA Finals of that same year, in Game 3, this is the game that I chose. Technically, Game 5 as well would fit, but I chose Game 3 specifically because he had 20 points on 90% from the floor and 72% from the free throw line. He legit took 10 shots and made 8 out of 11 free throws, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of hard to beat a Wilt-led team when he does that, and he's not even the main guy taking the shots. He took the least amount of shots almost on the whole game, but averaged the most points. The only one who took less was Pat Riley. Broke Pat Riley, who couldn't score. Yes, Pat Riley, the guy who runs the Miami Heat, that's him. And just that's a great game, by the way. He was a leading scorer for the whole game. But 90% from the floor, 10 shots, 11 free throws, being able to get 26 points. Very impressive, especially because it's the NBA Finals. And I wanted to pick one of the games. Game 5 as well would have counted as well because, I mean, he had 24, 29, and 4. Technically, this game is better because 71% from the floor. So I can show both. And I think we have footage of this one. So if you want to watch the game, you watch, I think, everything but the last, 4 minutes of the game is available, which is kind of unfortunate, but, it is what it is. Now, those are all the games that I had to show, to be honest with you. I don't think I have any other games that come to mind. Actually, I take it back. I have one series that I want to share with you guys because most people don't know about this. And so this is, I guess, an exclusive for you guys. But playoffs, it was 1970, right after coming back from injury. They go down 3-0 versus the Phoenix Suns, right? Or down 3-1 versus the Phoenix Suns. And then they come back. Wilt gets 36 and 14, 12, 26, 11, 30, 27 and 6, and then that's how they win the series. Now, the reason I didn't include these games specifically, because as great as Wilt played, Jerry West also had a great run. I mean, 19 and 15 for Game 7, is very impressive. And I think he had a great game 6, which is why I didn't include Wilt alone, because Jerry West also played great. And Wilt had a rough game in game. Wow, that's 4 of 11 for Wilt. It's terrible. But 26 and 11, I guess, makes up for it. And probably great defense. Yeah, no, those are some of the greatest games of Wilt Chamberlain's playoff career. Like I said, this is probably the last Wilt video I do for a while. I'm going to be doing videos about Kareem, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, Rick Barry. You can name them. I'll make a video about them. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Anthony Davis, whoever you want. You name them, and I'll put them in a video. I'll make a video about them. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is way too long. I thought it was going to be like 10 minutes, but I kind of got too caught up in certain stories and games. And yeah, this is, like I said, this is probably the last Wilt video I make. So leave a comment down below if you have any ideas, any videos you want me to make or talk about. That being said, I think tomorrow's video will be about NBA awards. So, you know, or the 2024-2025 season predictions. Now, that being said, make sure you like and subscribe. Jesus loves you. God bless you. Take care. Goodbye.